Brilliant. So, as introduced, I'm James. I'm the CEO of TechVets. I'd like to say thanks very much to Tom, Jack for hosting, and the rest of the team for putting this on and inviting me to talk about TechVets. It's something that I'm particularly passionate about, and I've been involved full time with TechVets for this year, starting in January. So the whole idea of today was to come and talk to you about the sort of quintessential aspects of TechVets that's made it particularly fantastic, and that is basing all of it around the power of a military community, hence the title, Power of Community. So just to give you a bit of a background on TechVets, we're a non-profit. We exist as a bridge for veterans into technology and cybersecurity careers. We want to, in essence, alleviate the issue of unemployment and underemployment in the veteran community by ensuring that all veterans and service leavers can combine both their military skills and their new leading digital skills that they can acquire through TechVets, primarily through the community, to gain sustainable careers in technology. And in doing so, in essence, we're building on the strengths of veterans to support the UK's digital economy. And obviously, there are other organisations out there that do this, and one in particular that I found particularly wonderful is VetSec. And Tom and I have been chatting for a number of months now, and very much aligned in what we want to achieve and how we go about it. So hopefully the start of a really blossoming relationship. Everything we do within TechVets, every decision that I make has to be bound within the principles that we have, the core principles. Integrity and transparency is very important, especially as a non-profit. And as a non-profit, no cost to veterans at any stage. We serve the community, the TechVets community, above all else, and they are absolutely the main factor in everything we do. But the next two, partnerships that avoid duplication and create efficiency, and also innovation, are something that we found has been very, very important to us as a non-profit with limited funds. You know, the VetSec team will certainly agree with me. It can be very challenging finding people sometimes to support these great initiatives. And sometimes when we don't have the capacity to do a great deal, those partnerships are fantastic. But equally, without relying too much on partnerships all the time, to be able to really be innovative within your teams and within your volunteers certainly helps. And then finally, results and data focused and empowerment of veterans. Quite clearly, everything is about enabling the veterans to create their own paths and follow them into successful careers, rather than treat them as vulnerable, broken, and unable, which is quite often the perception. So what are we doing at TechVets? First and foremost, the problems that we're trying to solve. The main employment sectors that are attracting veterans will be significantly affected by job automation, robotics, machine learning, etc., within the next 5 to 10 years. And conversely, there's a huge number of growing opportunities for veterans, both in cybersecurity, but also wider technology. And that's sometimes the non-tech roles as well. Especially within cybersecurity, we're seeing that there are vast transferable skills, and these are often realized way too late in civilian life, and usually at the detriment of both the veterans, their families, but also the businesses and the economies. Every year in the UK, we have roughly around 15,000 regular trained and untrained service leavers that join a community of veterans that numbers roughly around 2.5 million. Now, nearly 1 million of those are of working age, and 200,000 of working age veterans in the UK are either unemployed or economically inactive. And the cost to the UK economy alone of underemployed or unemployed veterans has been estimated at 1.5 billion over 5 years. So sorting veterans out is something that's really great, but it's not just great for the human side of it. It makes absolute logical economic sense to ensure that we're not wasting these fantastic talents that are leaving a military career and just going into something slightly different. In 2017, we saw the most comprehensive, most up-to-date comprehensive data showed that only 4% of UK veterans were working in ICT, information communications technology, whereas the percentage of veterans working in manufacturing, transportation and storage, and construction is 15%, 11%, and 11% respectively. In essence, the three top sectors named as being the ones most likely to be affected by job automation by 2030. So again, the other issue here isn't just the economic impact on the UK, it's actually a lot of veterans that are following these traditional pathways into careers that aren't necessarily sustainable. And the other thing is that tech does a great deal for society, and having that real purpose in life is something that is really, really strong within the military community ethos. I won't go into the skills gap. I think everyone understands that there is a skills gap, whether we're talking about issues in HR, whether we're talking about not looking for the right people or just not having enough technically capable people at all levels, including C-suite. That skills gap is there, and it will always remain there to a certain extent because tech moves incredibly fast and a lot faster than people can, certainly in our ability to develop. However, the increase in the threat posed by state-sponsored threat actors to our critical national infrastructure only serves to highlight the need to address this shortage, and it's clear that security leaders need to find new sources of talent. And who better to fight the cyber front line, so to speak, than veterans who are already pretty much doing that in every other way. So the solution, a wonderful little diagram that I put together, and what it does is just highlight the benefits of veterans and their skills. And the 4 TechVets co-founders came together because they all arrived at the same conclusion, and that's that veterans have all the qualities to boost the UK's digital economy. And you know, we're not just talking the UK's economy here. Let's be perfectly frank, the alignment between military veterans in the US and the UK are pretty synonymous most of the time. Now, what we have seen is that you know, we want all of our veterans to fill this huge cyber skills gap at a time when everyone's under threat from various threat groups, whether it's state-sponsored, whether it's criminals at home, in our businesses, and Western economies need these talented people. Many veterans that are looking for jobs will have served during arguably the most complex and operationally challenging chapters of both the US and British military history. And what has been understood is the development of this sort of wealth of skills that the military now have, which businesses are desperate for and actually, quite frankly, find difficult to replicate. Today's military also has a lot more tech, and the value of the people is actually more important than the tech that people are using. And what companies are really looking for, which veterans can bring, is the people that can dream, design, build, sustain, and propagate technology. And that's why veterans can be a game changer for businesses. And that's why TechVets was started by our co-founders and has so far been a roaring success. So when we talk about veterans' transferable skills, I think quite often we overlook some of the real core aspects. But the soft skills are quite clearly there. And we talk about these quite regularly within the military community, and the business community, quite frankly, loves them. You know, one thing I found was the ability to be robust. Every morning I would get a Slack message from someone in my team saying that, you know, they'd had a difficult sleep or they couldn't shake a head cold. And, you know, for us, that's you know, quite daunting to find ourselves in a position where we're dealing with people that can't come to work because they've got a bit of a snivelly cold. It's something we're not used to. So, you know, the best chat I ever had was with a partner in Deloitte who said he would always trust and give the big jobs to veterans because he knows that if there's a deadline, it will be met. There'll be no obstacles, and it will be in his inbox the evening before, ready to go. Whereas with the non-veterans, there tends to be a lot more micromanaging involved. But you know, what other skills do we have? I mean, leadership is something that we throw out there quite, you know, blasé. You know, not every person in the military has leadership skills. But what do we have? Well, if you take an infantry section commander or, you know, team lead, and I spoke to one not long ago who said, "How do I get into cyber?" Well, quite clearly, that there is some very simple skills there. What does a section commander do? Well, he has to understand he's 1 up, he's 2 up, and he's 3 ups intent. And you have to be aware of not just the section's mission, the platoon's mission, the company's mission, the battle group's mission, but also what the campaign is trying to achieve and what you're going to be delivering at the operational and tactical levels that's going to, and how that's going to impact that strategic vision. And look, why is that any different from working in business? In fact, quite clearly it's not. I would argue that quite the opposite. We miss it in business. There are a lot of teams that just don't have the communicators. They have the introvert techs who are fantastic at what they do. Their fingers are on keyboard and they're blasting out code. But the communication aspect, the ability to articulate the strategic down to the delivery in the operational area and vice versa is very important. And that's a real gap that veterans can hit. But simple things, You know, someone in instant response. I mean, but as a section commander, you drill your team, and you don't drill them on every possible outcome that's going to happen, but you drill them on a process, a standard operating procedure. You know, in essence, you develop processes and policies, and you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. So whatever happens, you can adapt very quickly, apply the same sort of logic, the same policy, the same process, and achieve a successful outcome. If you look at an instant response team, that is exactly what they do. Yeah, fine, there's a technical aspect of it, but skills can be learned. The soft skills that military are developing over 10, 15, 20 years is not something that can be taught quite so easily. So plenty of skills there that can be used. And you know, that's everything from, you know, across all of the different services, all the different trades. There will be fantastic skills to get across. The difficult aspect is then getting past the filter stage and getting to interview where you can really prove yourself. So just to give you a bit of insight on my journey and why I came to work for TechVets, which will move us quite nicely on to the core aspect of the community and the power of the community, which is such an awesome aspect of what we do. I joined the military 2 decades ago, infantry soldier, but the most profound moment of my life, which I've really used to support everyone else who finds that they're in a difficult situation, was when I got hit. I obviously wasn't quite good enough at my job and received multiple shrapnel wounds whilst assaulting an enemy position in Helmand province. That changed my entire career. I knew I would never promote beyond that point because of my injuries. My infantry career was finished, but at no point did I look at that risk and think just threat. Actually, at the forefront was opportunity. What can I do? How has this enabled me to make that next move? And that is the difference that you'll get with a veteran that you won't necessarily get with someone who hasn't got that sort of frame of mind, that mental robustness that we tend to have. So I moved into intelligence, had a fantastic sort of seven years in intelligence. And I used that time, I developed my soft skills in the infantry. I used that time to upskill, get my degree. And then when I left, I found a cause, and that was working with government as the strategic cyber threat intelligence specialist for government digital service in the UK's Cabinet Office. Now, I had a purpose there. I was serving the country, you know, and its infrastructure, which really it really played to what I like. But at the same time, I joined TechVets as a member, and I very quickly fell in love with it. And you know, a year later, the first CEO position became available, and quite thankfully, I nailed it. And I must say, it has been the most fantastic job in the world, and it is pretty much a dream come true. Why? Because it gives me purpose every day, and you know, the community is exactly why I would never want to leave this job. So, why is the community so strong? Well, we have quite a huge community, but first and foremost, it's that ability for people to step up. And of all the communities in the world, the military veteran community is by far the strongest. That sort of cohort, that brotherhood, you know, and sisterhood, and that ability almost as a family. You could know your next door neighbor for 30 years. And if a veteran comes up to you who you've never met before, you would knife that neighbor in the back just to take the side of your fellow veteran. It's quite profound. Now, what I have is a huge team of volunteers, which I asked quite simply, and they all put their hand up and said, we'd love to help. They all have exceptionally busy jobs. Some of them very senior, some of them exceptionally experienced, and they're willing to give their own time as well to support others. Why? Because they like to give back. And that is the essence of the community strength within TechVets, the way people give back. You know, I highlight one there, Dave Grant. He's basically been the project manager of our digital platform build that we're going through at the moment. Since he started, he's given me 2 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. The guy started 20 odd years ago with Goldman Sachs as a software developer, spent 20 years in Goldman's tech division before leaving as a managing director, went traveling for a bit, came back due to COVID and wanted to get stuck in. And that's the kind of support that I'm getting from some of our volunteers. Albeit Dave has a bit more capacity than some of the others, but absolutely fantastic from start to finish. And we have team managers, you know, we have local chapter leads for the various regions throughout UK. The bottom 4 there are our community instructors. So all of this, everything that I'm able to deliver, I'm able to deliver because of the community that I have behind me. nearly 6,000 members, and we've built that community in roughly around 2.5 years. It is particularly strong. The veteran cohort within that is fantastic, because that also houses all those veterans that we have who are already in tech and cybersecurity, and that is the real key unique selling point of TechVets. We do have Five Eyes chapters, but they are very quiet because we are obviously going to everything from the types of certifications you need to the sort of companies and the locations where opportunities are popping up. It is obviously going to be far more useful to British veterans. We do welcome all of you from other Five Eyes partners into our Discord channel. But what I will say is, quite frankly, if I was a US veteran, I'd be joining VetSec. Fantastic what the team are doing, and they're just going to continue to grow. And you know, I'm going to be there along the way to support Tom and the team wherever possible, to give any sort of advice. We can share knowledge on lessons learned and the challenges from running a non-profit, and we can, you know, keep that relationship going. But what is happening in this space is, quite frankly, remarkable, and I'm quite chuffed that we managed to find VetSec as a sort of partner across the water. Within the community, there are a number of key sort of elements that really stand out. That so many people leave the military, they have a little bit of money to spend, but they don't know what to do. They're quite generalist. I was quite generalist, and I had 5 years I planned for, and it was an exceptional plan. I did pretty much nail it. But when I left, the uncertainty nearly toppled me, because I just didn't know where I fitted. So what our community can do straight away is debunk all the myths, give you that start state where you know what you can do, what you should be doing, what you can do, what the options are. You know, if the people are charging you £30,000 for a degree, there are other options out there. If someone's selling you a £5,000 course, you know, there is open source stuff out there, which is pretty fantastic. You don't need to be paying through the nose. And what we want to do is get rid of the snake oil out there that's trying to manipulate veterans in a sort of vulnerable time. Beyond all that expertise that we're able to give back, those really knotty questions about interviews, CVs, different platforms, you know, does this script work when I'm looking to achieve this result? You know, we have channels for every bit of learning that people are doing. So all of that stuff is almost collaboration and shared knowledge. But there's also the pastoral side of it as well. Through a very complex year, all of us have been affected in one way, shape, or form by the impact of the pandemic. And you know, we flexed our sort of community strength at that point of isolation, and it worked, and the community came together. But it's nice to know that people have that option to jump onto Discord, or in your case, for VetSec, jump onto Slack, you know, and really just get rid of some of those awkward questions that you wouldn't want to ask someone who's not a veteran. The community is growing quite fast, and we're also starting to develop our training. And the training is a less important aspect of this talk. But what we've started doing is realizing there are some huge gaps. The biggest gap for people when they leave is, where do they start, and how do they get in their foot in the door? There is so much open source stuff out there that is fantastic, that we started putting that into a framework. Why? Because one, it's free. Two, because why would you duplicate? And three, why would you send someone to pay for something when they can spend a bit more time with the community, learning properly how to implement the skills they're learning to solve problems, rather than answer exam questions on a 5-day boot camp course. So it was really important also to manage expectations. And a lot of military that leave, you know, in the UK especially, they'll do their CompTIA A+, Net+, and Sec+ courses, you know, 15 days, and go to a hiring manager and looking for a pen testing job for 50k a year, and it's just not going to happen. But they don't know any better at that point, and they're accessing these funds and doing these courses just before they leave. Whereas what we want to do is capture those people really early on, so they have a wonderful holistic pathway that builds understanding the network, understanding the technologies that are emerging, you know, the startups that are coming up. Because quite frankly, if you're a veteran and you don't like startups, you're probably not a veteran, because that ability to get hands-on and really drive something forward, some of those tech startups are a fantastic place to work. So it's understanding industry, it's understanding the start point, understanding what skills people need and what skill level they're at, and what that means for salary and job. So they're going in as a network engineer or a system admin, rather than trying their luck to push an A+ certification, to become a pen tester, which quite frankly, hiring managers are going to look at and say, you're barking mad. I said before, partnerships are crucial for us, and we've found some fantastic partners. But none of our partners do it because they feel sorry for the veterans. They do it because they appreciate why veterans are a good thing to be supporting into cybersecurity and technology. And one in particular was Immersive Labs, who have been there from the start. We are now starting to build our industry technologies as well, so people have that sort of additional card on their CV, but most importantly, it's understanding the technologies. So when they go into a new team, the chances are they're going to be using AWS or Microsoft or Splunk or Fortinet or an industry technology that's out there, that they're already aware of is certainly a good start. And then the sort of third aspect of what we do is the employment support. And the biggest challenge of my life is CVs or resumes. Always, the resumes are an absolute pain because most veterans just have never written one. And the language just isn't there. And it's not that you need to change your language so people don't think you're in the military. It's just wording, structuring your sentences to say the right thing in the right way. And what I'm really desperate for people to do is to start monetizing what they've done, which is difficult because, certainly from my background as an infantry soldier, I didn't ever handle money. And it was only when I looked back more critically and I thought about it. And I remember for a whole year as an infantry section commander, I had a team of 8 people, but actually for that year, there was only 6 of them. There was only 6 of us in that 8-man team. So in essence, I delivered the mission that the company wanted, but I saved 60-odd thousand pounds worth of salary because I did that with 2 less people. And it's simple ways of monetizing a CV that can really help get you through the door. And we're doing a lot of work with that at the moment to help people understand more around the CV as well, the research that needs to be done. Because we're getting people as well who are training up to the eyeballs to become pen testers or engineers or whatnot. And then when they look for a job, they realize that there aren't any jobs in their area. So that research up front is really, really important. But we are seeing sort of five members month on month this year landing jobs, which given the current economic issues and the problems with recruitment and job opportunities, that's not bad going at all. And what we are finding though is so many people are coming back to us and saying, brilliant, I've had one, I'll have another one. And again, from the community side of things, as soon as someone lands a job, the first thing they do is message me on Discord and say, I've just landed a job, thank you. And I've already spoken to my new boss to see how we can help TechVets out. So really, really good, and it works. It really does work. So just to sort of finish off, why do I do it? The community is so fantastic. I took less than £1,000 pay rise to treble my hours. I haven't had a full weekend off since January, but it's a passion, it's a hobby, and I put myself in that situation because it is the most rewarding job I think I've ever had. To be able to sit at my laptop when I'm tired and see messages coming in thanking me and TechVets and the community for changing people's lives, it's very, very humbling, but very rewarding. But at the same time, not only do I help that community, but that community gives me purpose, and it's a wonderful situation to be in, where you can feel part of something that has a heartbeat of its own. So absolutely fantastic. What I will say is that where we have found huge success is by the absolutely 100% with the community. It's a unique selling point, and with the huge Slack community that VetSec are developing now, I just say to everyone, just get on board. If you have an opportunity to give back, whatever it may be, help others out, because those small acts within that community all of a sudden generate a lot of momentum, and you'll find, as we did, that all of a sudden, 1,000 becomes 2,000, becomes 5,000, and then when you're going out to people and saying, cool, we'd like to work with you, can you give us access to some stuff? It's a very powerful message when you're hitting thousands and thousands of potential lives being changed. So really get on board. What the team are doing is fantastic, and look, I'm really chuffed to be here. So thanks ever so much for everyone involved at VetSec for inviting TechVets along. And I look forward to a promising relationship between the two of us. And I look forward as well to seeing some of you at the first live Hack the Box, Capture the Flag event, TechVets versus VetSec next weekend, which will be taking on some of the key aspects of veterans' skills, a very competitive nature, a great load of teamwork. And don't worry, I have rigged it to make sure we win because it's our first one.
All right, man. That's an impressive organization. I'm actually specifically really excited to tie into TechVets. Ian, who's in this presentation, was actually bugging us a fair bit in a good way, but he was bugging us when we were all running for the board back when it was time to elect new leadership. And he's like, yeah, VetSec, we're international, but you guys tie into largely American companies. And it was a great companies and, veteran outputs. And it's a great point because it's very hard to, well, no excuses ultimately, because, we do have an international audience, but it's challenging to figure out, like, where do you link into these support networks? Like, and it's difficult to do without working with, like TechVets. So this is really exciting to get connected to you guys and start, browning our support. So it's a great presentation, man. Also, I loved your mustache and your.
I was going to mention, actually, I forgot. Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah. It seems like you guys got a little bit more relaxed facial grooming standards in the UK for the military, which I think is all of our dreams back in the day. So.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think as soon as Afghan came about, the Herrick tours, everyone's going to be, they realised how uncomfortable it is.
All right. Anyways, so any questions? There's some senior leaders actually in this presentation that have I think it was good that they heard from TechVets. So anyone in the chat, feel free to ask some questions, and otherwise we'll wrap it up for TechVets. So questions, anyone?
Is that one from Ian?
Ian, does Ian have a question? Let's see. I may.
How much of that industry positioning?
Yes.
Settlement courses available, but is that mission focus not a problem when it comes to mental health and balance? To tackle the mental health side of things, the one thing that that I just flat out won't do is provide services for mental health, because I think we would do our members a disservice. There are so many fantastic organisations out there, and just signposting people to those is, in my opinion, the right way of going about it. We have quite a few in the UK, but we've got members who have actually really loved the community feel for their own mental health, and that's not someone sitting there needing to pour their heart and soul out, but it's someone who can really dive into something passionate and be part of something and feel that purpose, because they're part of a community and giving back as well and helping others. And I think sometimes that helping others helps us help ourselves. So the mental health side of things, the community has done really well with that aspect, without going down that rabbit hole of becoming a sort of mental health, officially sort of supporting mental health, so to speak. I think that there's industry will always try to capitalize on where there are trending gaps to exploit, and getting diversity of thought is definitely something that needs to be looked at.
All right, right on. Anyone else? Other questions? All right. Well, James, thank you so much. Also, I imagine this is a little bit late in your time zone, so I appreciate you taking a Saturday to do this. And man, it's super inspiring to see how large your organization is. It's sort of I think provides a bit of an indicator for where we can work towards. So that fires me up. So thank you, James, and I look forward to staying in touch.
My pleasure. Thanks ever so much for having me, and best of luck to everyone out there who's looking for their next career.